Hi everyone, welcome to the Video Accessibility, Color Contrast, and Visual Impairments. In this lecture, we'll dive into another important topic in accessibility testing. You'll learn about color contrast and visual impairments, why they matter, and how to test for them effectively. We'll also look at real-life examples of common issues and demonstrate the expected behavior in practice. Thank you for joining this video, and let's get started. This video is part of the Udemy course, Gen AI and other software testing tools every QA should know. The course also includes many useful tools for effective work as a QA engineer. For more information, please check the description of the video below. Testing for color contrast and visual impairments is a crucial component of accessibility testing. It ensures that digital products are inclusive and usable by individuals with limited vision, color blindness, and other visual disabilities. Let's take a closer look at why color contrast and visual impairments are important in software testing. When it comes to building inclusive and user-friendly digital products, testing for color contrast and visual impairments plays a huge role. There are numerous reasons why this type of accessibility testing matters in software development and testing. Firstly, it ensures equal access for all users. Accessibility is a fundamental principle of inclusive design, meaning that everyone, regardless of their abilities or disabilities, should have the opportunity to interact with digital products effectively. If your app or website uses color that are too similar or with low contrast, individuals who have difficulty seeing clearly, such as those who are colorblind or have low vision, might not be able to read the text or even notice important buttons. Good color contrast helps make sure everyone can access and use your interface, no matter the visual ability. Secondly, it uncovers hidden usability issues. Sometimes, a design looks fine to developers or testers during normal checks, but when someone with a visual impairment tries to use it, key parts are hard or impossible to see. For example, placeholder text might appear in a very light gray that blends into background. Error messages might not stand out. These small issues don't always show up in regular testing, but can create big problems for real users. That's why contrast testing is so valuable. It finds those hidden flaws. Thirdly, it prevents legal and compliance risks. As you may already know, failing to meet accessibility standards can lead to serious consequences, including lawsuits, fines, and reputational damage. Regulations like the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines 2.2 and the Americans with Disabilities Act outline specific requirements for color contrast and visual accessibility. These rules exist to ensure that digital products are usable by individuals with visual impairments and other disabilities. Lastly, it improves overall user experience. Using higher contrast in your design makes content easier to read and understand for everyone, not just users with impairments. It strengthens the visual hierarchy, helping users quickly spot important information. This is especially helpful in real-world scenarios such as when someone is using their phone outdoors in bright sunlight or when viewing content on older monitors or budget devices with lower screen resolution or limited color accuracy. Even people with perfect vision can struggle to see clearly under these conditions. By using higher contrast, you ensure that your interface remains clear, readable, and functional across a wide range of environments and devices. Simply put, better contrast isn't just an accessibility benefit, it's a smart design choice that improves usability for everyone, everywhere. Since, as you can see, color contrast is a critical aspect of accessibility, it's just as important to understand what exactly a QA should test when it comes to color contrast and visual impairments. So, let's break down the key areas a QA should focus on. Let's focus on the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. Just like with other key areas we've discussed, WCAG remains a primary reference when testing for color contrast and visual impairments. WCAG isn't just theoretical, it provides practical, testable criteria that QA specialists can apply directly in their daily work. So, simply navigate to the official WCAG standard page. Several key topics within the WCAG relate specifically to visual impairments and color contrast, and as a QA, you should pay close attention to them. One of the most important is 1.4.3 contrast minimum, which defines the minimum contrast ratio required to ensure that text remains readable for users with visual impairments. Contrast ratio is a measurement of the difference in luminance or brightness between two colors, typically the color of the text and the background it's placed on. It plays a key role in determining how easily users can perceive and distinguish content on a screen, especially those with visual impairments. In the context of accessibility, contrast ratio values range from 1 to 1, which means no contrast at all, to 21 to 1, which represents the highest possible contrast, like black text on a white background. The higher the contrast ratio, the more readable and accessible the content becomes for users with limited vision. According to the WCAG 2.2 guidelines, there are minimum contrast requirements to ensure readability. Normal text must have at least a 4.5 to 1 contrast ratio. Large text, 18 or 14 bold and above, requires a 3 to 1 ratio, as larger text is naturally easier to read. Let's move on to another key topic for testing color contrast and visual impairments. 1.4.6 Contrast Enhanced. This criterion builds on the minimum contrast rules with stricter requirements for users with more severe vision issues. It's especially important when aiming for level AAA compliance and delivering a highly inclusive user experience. Moving forward, the next important criterion to consider is 1.4.11 Non-text contrast. Unlike previous guidelines that focus on text readability, this one ensures that important visual elements like icons, buttons, form fields, and focus indicators have enough contrast against adjacent colors. According to WCAG 2.2, the minimum requirements for non-text contrast state that both visual elements and focus indicators must have at least a 3 to 1 contrast ratio against adjacent colors to ensure they are easily perceivable. The next important topic you need to consider from a color contrast and visual impairment perspective is 1.4.1 Use of color. This guideline highlights that color alone should not be used to convey information, as this can create barriers for users with visual impairments, such as color blindness. As a QA engineer, it's crucial to verify that all essential information like error messages and status indicators are communicated through additional means, such as text labels or icons, ensuring accessibility for all users. Let's move on to several more important topics to consider, and the next one is 2.4.7 Focus Visible. We have discussed this topic in previous videos regarding keyboard navigation and focus order. However, it's particularly relevant to color contrast and visual impairment testing because a focus indicator must have sufficient contrast against the background to be easily perceivable by users with visual impairments. One more topic to consider is 1.4.5 Images of text. This guideline emphasizes that text should not be presented solely as images, as this limits accessibility for users with visual impairments. Images of text may not allow for adjustments in size or contrast, making it difficult for some users to read. To enhance accessibility, using actual text instead of images is preferable, ensuring proper color contrast and readability, as this allows users to adjust the text size and contrast according to their individual needs. Now that we understand what to test for regarding color contrast and visual impairments, let's move forward and learn how to effectively test these aspects in digital content. Testing for color contrast and accessibility involves a combination of automated tools, manual checks, and real user feedback to ensure that all users can interact with your interface seamlessly. To perform manual contrast testing, you can use various tools to help assess color contrast effectively. Some great options include the Web AIM Contrast Checker, the Color Contrast Analyzer by TPGI, and the Adobe Color Contrast Analyzer. Let's check how one of these tools works in practice. In particular, let's talk about the Web AIM Contrast Checker. This user-friendly online tool allows you to easily input foreground and background colors to evaluate their contrast ratio. The Web AIM Contrast Checker is a free and open-source tool, so to get started, all you need to do is to navigate to the web page. Once you're on the page, you'll see fields where you can input the foreground color, typically the text color, and the background color. You can either enter the hex codes manually or use the color pickers provided to select your colors visually. As soon as you enter both the foreground text and background colors into the tool, it automatically calculates the contrast ratio between them. It then displays whether the combination meets the WCAG 2.2 accessibility standards, showing results for both normal text and large text under AI and AAA compliance levels. This makes it super easy to spot any issues and make adjustments right away. It's a quick, reliable way to ensure that your designs or UI elements are visually accessible to all users, including those with visual impairments. Let's try checking a real example in practice by testing the color and contrast of one of the elements on the web page. To do that, navigate to our website testing101.net. Once the homepage is opened, choose a specific element, for example, the manual software testing interview text. To check the color of this element, you can simply right-click on it and select Inspect. This will open the browser's developer tools, where you can view the element's CSS styles, including the text color and background color. In particular, in the Styles tab, look for the color property. For this element, you will see that the text color is FFFFF, which is commonly referred to as white. Now go ahead and copy the values for use in your contrast testing. Then go back to the Web IAM contrast checker and paste the color values into the foreground field. Remember, to calculate the contrast ratio, we need both the foreground and background values. So let's find the background color value next. Examine the background of the manual software testing interview text, and you will find that it's set to transparent. However, on the website, it appears against a black background. This occurs because the text is displayed above other elements, allowing the black background to show through. In this case, you'll want to inspect the background color of the element in which the text is displayed. To do this, use the Inspector tool in Chrome DevTools. Simply select the relevant elements and examine its CSS properties to determine the background color. The background color for this element will be shown in the DevTools window. As you can see, it's 191919, which means the text is displayed over a very dark background. Copy it. Then return to the Web IAM contrast checker and paste the background color value into the background field to calculate the contrast ratio. As you can see, the Web IAM contrast checker calculates the contrast ratio as 17.58 to 1, which is well above the required accessibility thresholds. This means the text easily meets WCAG 2.2 standards for both normal text, minimum 4.1 to 1, and large text, minimum 3 to 1. Using this approach, you can manually check the contrast of any desired element on the web page. Now, let's go further and explore which automated accessibility testing tools you can use. As usual, there are various tools available to help test for accessibility, especially when it comes for checking color contrast. Some of the most commonly used ones include Wave and DevTools, Lighthouse, and others. Some of these tools are free, while others are paid. Let's start by taking a closer look at how to use one of these free tools, Wave by Web IAM. It is a tool designed to help developers and QA engineers identify accessibility issues directly within a web page. Wave provides visual feedback by highlighting potential problems like low contrast, missing alt text, and structural issues right on the page itself. Let's use it. First, you need to install the tool on your device. Wave is available as both a browser extension and a web-based version, so you can choose whichever option is more convenient for you. To install the extension, open your web browser and search for Wave Accessibility Chrome extension using any search engine. Once you see the search results, click on the link to the Chrome Web Store for the Wave Accessibility extension, which is typically the first link in the search field. On the website, make sure to choose the version of the Wave Accessibility extension that corresponds to the browser you're using. Keep in mind that different browsers may have variations in functionality and performance. For this demonstration, let's check how it works in Chrome. On the Chrome Web Store page, click Add to Chrome to install the extension. Once installed, the the wave icon will appear in your browser's toolbar, indicating that it's ready for use. For easier access, it's recommended to pin the wave extension to your toolbar. To do this, click the puzzle piece icon in the top right corner of Chrome, locate the wave extension in the list, and click the pin icon next to it. This will keep the wave icon visible at all times, allowing you to launch accessibility checks quickly whenever needed. Now the tool is ready to use and it's time to practice. To better visualize the differences, let's first take a look at the website that may have potential color contrast and visual impairment issues. Then we'll compare it to a more accessible website. Navigate to baroquemusic.org to get started. Next, click on the Wave Accessibility extension icon in the toolbar. This will activate the tool and overlay the accessibility features directly onto the web page. In particular, you will see a toolbar on the left side of the screen that displays various accessibility features and summaries. This toolbar provides an overview of the issues detected on the page, including color contrast errors, missing alt text, and other potential accessibility barriers. As you can see, this page has a significant number of potential contrast issues. Specifically, there are 228 detected issues. To get an overview of these issues, click on the Contrast tab in the Tools navigation menu. Once you navigate to the Contrast tab, you will see a detailed list of all the detected contrast issues on the page. Each entry will indicate the specific elements with insufficient contrast, along with the foreground and background color values. This allows you to easily identify which areas need improvement to enhance accessibility. To review the elements with issues, you can click on the contrast icon listed under the Contrast tab or directly on the web page. Let's click on the first issue to examine it further. Once you click on the corresponding issue, the affected component will be highlighted on the web page. In this case, it is the Baroque Music Library test link. This visual cue makes it easy to identify exactly where the contrast issue exists, allowing you to see how the text interacts with its background. To gain further insight, click on the contrast icon next to this element. This will provide you with specific details about the foreground and background colors, as well as the calculated contrast ratio. Understanding these details will help you grasp the extent of the issue and how it can be addressed. In our case, you may observe the issue titled Very Low Contrast Between Text and Background Colors, which will enhance your understanding of the problem. Additionally, to better understand the issue, you can use another useful feature of the tool, such as the reference button. Simply click on it in the issue window. You will see the Reference tab opened, displaying all the necessary information about the error, including what it means, why it matters, how to fix it, the algorithm used for detection, and even a reference to the relevant topic in the WCAG standards. This comprehensive information helps you understand the implications of the contrast issue, the importance of addressing it for accessibility, and provides actionable steps to improve the element's compliance with accessibility guidelines. In addition to this information, you can click on the Code button in the issue window. This will provide you with the corresponding CSS code for the highlighted element, allowing you to easily identify the styles applied. By viewing the code, you can make informed adjustments to improve the element's color contrast and ensure it meets accessibility standards. Additionally, you can make adjustments in the tool and observe the results in real time on the web page for the specific issue. This feature allows you to experiment with different color combinations and see how they affect contrast directly. Let's give it a try. Please return to the Contrast tab. Now try switching the foreground toggle to the left. This action will allow you to modify the foreground color and see how the changes impact the contrast ratio. As you can observe, once we make the change, the contrast ratio for the Baroque Music Library link updates accordingly. The tool indicates whether this new ratio meets the accessibility criteria for both WCAG AA and AAA compliance. This visual feedback helps you determine if the adjustments have successfully improved accessibility for this particular element. This is just one example of the many issues the tool can identify. In practice, The WAVE accessibility tool can detect various types of contrast-related problems, such as instances where image alternative text is missing, as well as other issues like insufficient contrast ratios for text, buttons, and links. We have prepared a table outlining common color contrast and visual impairment issues, including low text contrast, low contrast in disabled elements, low contrast in icons or UI items, and more. You can pause the video to review the types of issues, their impact, and the relevant WCAG references. Now, as the last step in our lecture, let's take a look at an example of the web page with proper color contrast. For this, we can use our website testing101.net. Please navigate to it now. Next, activate the WAVE tool by clicking on its icon in the toolbar while you are on the home page. As you may observe, this web page has zero contrast errors, which indicates that all text and background combinations meet the required accessibility standards for color contrast. This means that users can easily read the content without facing any visibility issues, making the site more accessible to individuals with visual impairments. As you understand, effective accessibility testing requires specialized tools. That's why we've prepared a dedicated lecture on how to test each aspect of accessibility in our Udemy course, Gen AI, and other software testing tools every QA should know. In these lectures, we will focus on using the corresponding accessibility tools and demonstrate how to implement this type of testing in practice, ensuring you gain hands-on experience. This course also includes many more useful tools for effective work as a QA engineer. For more information, please check the description below the video. The course is structured around 8 focused lectures, each dedicated to a key aspect of accessibility testing. You can see the full list of topics on the screen, including what is accessibility testing, keyboard navigation and focus order, screen reader compatibility, NVDA Windows, VoiceOver macOS, VoiceOver on iOS, TalkBack on Android, and color contrast and visual impairments. Throughout the course, you'll explore key questions like, why does accessibility testing matter? You'll understand how it impacts real users, supports inclusivity, and helps meet legal and business requirements. You'll also learn what the official accessibility standards are, such as WCAG, where to find them, and the key principles, perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust, to guide your testing. And finally, we'll cover what exactly is tested in accessibility, from keyboard navigation and screen reader compatibility to visual contrast and mobile accessibility, giving you a practical foundation for testing across devices and platforms. Each lecture is structured to give you a solid understanding of why the topics matter, how to test it effectively, which tools to use and how, and what common issues are associated with each area. Our goal is to bridge the gap between theory and practice so you can start applying what you've learned right away. Almost every lecture in this course is practical, ensuring that you not only learn the theory but also see how accessibility is applied in real-world scenarios across different platforms. You'll get hands-on experience in performing accessibility testing on Windows with practical examples that show you how to navigate common issues and use the right tools. You'll also learn how to deal with accessibility on macOS, covering platform-specific features and tools for effective testing on Apple devices, including how to use VoiceOver as well as basic macOS navigation techniques to ensure comprehensive accessibility testing. Additionally, we'll guide you through accessibility testing on iOS and Android devices, helping you understand how to apply accessibility practices on mobile platforms, including testing with screen readers and touch gestures. For every major topic, we've selected specific tools and platforms to explore in detail. This approach ensures that you gain hands-on experience with the most widely used tools in accessibility testing, allowing you to apply your knowledge directly in real-world scenarios. We will also show you the expected behavior for each particular accessibility feature, so you can clearly understand how proper accessibility looks like in practice. To guide our testing and recommendations, we'll rely on WCAG standards as the source of truth, ensuring alignment with internationally recognized guidelines for web accessibility. What also makes this course unique is that we include video demonstrations of common accessibility bugs. You'll see real web pages with accessibility problems and then compare them with improved versions that follow best practices. This comparison helps you visually understand the impact of poor design choices. The tools and techniques covered span desktop, Windows and macOS, mobile iOS and Android, and web platforms, including browsers like Chrome and Safari. Whether you're testing with a screen reader, keyboard navigation, or color contrast analyzer, we show you exactly how it's done. Are you ready to explore a new and meaningful area of testing? Then this course is for you. Gain practical skills, boost your testing expertise, and become a champion of digital inclusivity. Enroll now and let's dive in. Thank you for watching this introduction, and welcome to the journey of accessibility testing.